boxing voice.
So, Pete, man, how you doing? We wanted to get in touch with you and just get an update. We know that, you haven't been doing too much boxing, but I see that you've picked up a movie role, man. How'd that come about?
Just shaking hands and meeting the right people. Shia LaBeouf, I was training Shia LaBeouf in New York City in boxing, and he was like, you know what I'm saying, you ever thought about doing acting and stuff? And he gave me a number to this guy, and I called him when I went to L.A., and we've been in touch ever since. And, he sent me a couple scripts, and this was the second script. And I read it with the director, Ben Young, and, Ben Young, I got casted for the movie, and, I got the part. Fortunately, I'm just very blessed to be able to do that because it's just taking my life to a different light, get to do all these kind of cool things. But at the same time, people will say, I'm running and I'm not being I am still a fighter. I'm still like an active fighter, and I just took the opportunity to do something I never did before, and it was like a great opportunity and a great experience, and I'm very thankful. So stay tuned and watch.
You're gonna get your internet trolls coming at you because in boxing you're only as good as your last fight. So, your last fight's been a while away. People want to see you back in the ring. So, have you gotten word when that might be as far as getting back in the ring?
It could be like the end of January, beginning of February. We're looking at, Grace the Ring. We've been promised a certain amount of fights next year, and I'm going to stay according to the schedule and just work hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I may be just, like, out the gym right now. I may be out of a fight right now. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily out the gym. I do a lot of active stuff to keep my lifestyle pretty active of, living a kind of fighter's lifestyle.
So now, when you come back in January, if that is the tentative month, do you feel that it's going to be another Jared Fletcher type because of the layoff, or are you looking to get right in the ring with someone on the same level as yourself?
Well, of course I would want to get in there with somebody with the same level as myself, but, all together, when we sit down and come up with plans, we kind of try to stick to the plans, you know what I'm saying? Get what I need out of boxing and get the fights that I'm going to need to be able to teach me what I need to know. And also, just to keep rising up the ladder of success and, keep it like that. So I make sure that when I'm working with people, I'm making what the best in the sport, you know what I'm saying? And some may argue that he's not the best, but, clearly he is the best. And, as far as what fighters making their job, I hope a lot of fighters were working with people that they're able to, see some type of return back to their investment. We as fighters invest by just like putting endless hours in the gym, and eventually get to a point in your life where you just want to hope that part pays off.
Do you feel that there will come a time when the fight fans or the general public would accept and feel as grateful as you do and the rest of the Al Haymon fighters towards Al Haymon? Because right now there's a bit of a split. All the fighters love being signed to him because of the opportunities and obviously the financial opportunities that are greater than anything they've ever had in the past. But the fight fans are upset because now we have another Cold War. Finally, we got Golden Boy and Top Rank working together, but now none of the Al Haymon fighters get to fight Golden Boy or Top Rank fighters.
Well, like I said, man, I really don't get too much into that because, as a participant, you just want to kind of stick to what you do. But at the same time, a lot of these different things don't really have nothing to do with the fighters. It has something to do with, certain people that the fighters choose to work with. Now, it's funny how you hear so many people talk crap about Haymon, but you never hear none of his fighters talk crap about him. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like, you get blackballed or nothing. Let's use Andre Durrell, for instance. He kind of went away and was dealing with 50, and then, he's back with Al Haymon. Now look at him. He's in the light of things, especially with the stoppage of Nick Brinson and, that it just tells you the power of Al, man. So, I'm really in good hands, though, so I'm not even worried about, You know what I mean? That's why I just try to stay according to the plan, and you know, I stay in shape. You know, like I'm not trying to just like be super out of shape when it's time to like get down to the come down.
So obviously, a few names have been mentioned or have been circulating around yours, and that's Jermaine Taylor and, of course, Danny Jacobs. If you had your pick of those two, which one is the one that you would like to be able to get in the ring with as early as January?
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
If you was hungry and you was starving, would you be picky about what food you ate?
Of course not.
Okay, and I feel the same way about guys that I fight. You know what I mean? Like, let me explain something. I, Kid Chocolate, has never been fearful of another man. You know what I mean? So, you know, when it comes to me having that mentality, you got to make sure you're working with the right people, because people use that same mentality to the best of their advantage. Put you in fights, any old fight, and make any old money, and just, you know, anything can happen. And, you know, with the people I work, they're making sure they put you in the right fights for the right money. So any fights is for the right money. It doesn't matter, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, with my mentality, I just know that I'm ready for the best. You know, my story is already written in heaven with God, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not about to take away from my story by not trying my best. You know what I'm saying? So I'm willing to fight anybody. I'm not scared of nobody. I'm willing to fight anybody if it's the right time for the fights, you know, according to what the people I work with. So Jermaine Taylor, Danny Jacobs, you know what I mean? It's all food to me.
Well, a fight that's going to be taking place in your division this weekend is Gabriel Rosado and David Lemieux. Probably not on your radar, but I'm curious to know if you are at least going to be paying attention with a close eye, because it is something taking place in your division.
Well, you know, from what it seems, you know, David Lemieux is like reinventing himself. You see now he went from the classic looking white guy who's clean cut to now just a rugged rock and roll looking guy. I guess he's going through a character change since, you know, taking a few defeats and everything. And you know, I look at it like this, you know, if he's just getting better as a fighter, and he's trying to get better with himself, then so be it. But, you know, Gabriel Rosado, to me, you know, being in there and touch grace the ring with Gabriel, he's a real true fighter, and, you know, I don't take anything away from him. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, David Lemieux take on another, like, tough challenger, a guy who's determined to win and be a champion in Gennady Rosado. So, you know, that's why I think, like, a fight like that is important for both of these guys, because, you know, Gabe has been, like, in the spotlight as far as, you know, fans wanting to see him win. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has some real diehard fans. I don't know what he do, and he has that formula put together. And, you know, David Lemieux is just like a hard-hitting, punching guy who I feel sometimes, you know, is too courageous, and he may get himself in trouble sometimes. But, you know, we have to see in this fight what is really going to happen.
Now, Gabe has obviously said numerous things in the media pertaining to the fight that he had with yourself, and, you know, moving forward, he just feels that now he's the natural middleweight. Is that a fight that obviously you would ever entertain? I know you've already made it clear that as long as the money's right, you'll get in there. But do you feel it would be a step backwards, or does he have to do some significant things in the division in order to merit you revisiting that name in the division?
I mean, if it's a good fight, I think Hal would know, and he'll basically put me in that fight. So it's like, would you want to take this fight, Pete? Yeah, why not, Hal? Why do you think it's good for me? Oh, because this is where it's ultimately going to get you that. Okay, I said, all right, Hal, let's do it. You know, I'm betting and gambling on myself, so it's like, why not? You know what I mean? But everything's a gambling. Everybody has a chance to win with one lucky punch. One lucky punch can change your whole time. Fourth round, fighting Gabriel Rosado, he hit me with a good punch, and that punch could have ended my career. You know what I'm saying? But it's happening that I came out the victor to win, no matter how the fight ended up. But all around was a good scrap. But I think we could pick any one of Gabriel Rosado's fights and say they was a good scrap. Even when he fought Gennady Golovkin, he put up a better test than people when they expect him. You know what I'm saying? Did he even get dropped in that fight?
No.
I dropped him, though.
So you mentioned Golovkin, and this will be my last question. I know you're a busy man. You were out in Brooklyn giving away coats, associated with Burlington Coat Factory, man. That was definitely nice. I've been seeing you've been doing a lot of things, giving back to the people, which, is a great thing. You know, when guys make it to your level, it's good to see that they don't forget where they came from. I wanted to ask you about something that I'm curious to see if you've forgotten. There was a time, once upon a time, Gennady Golovkin, wanted to fight you, and he wasn't on that level yet. He wasn't known, and promoters like Lou DiBella would say things like, "No one knows him," or "He doesn't sell out the small arena in Madison Square Garden Theater." Now, he's selling out the StubHub, and they have to make new seats for him. He's selling out Madison Square Garden, and he's HBO's new darling.
Hold up. When you say, I want to ask you a question. Have he made $1 million yet?
Yeah. I think that his last fight, he made.
From what I heard, it was $700,000 his last fight. I mean, I just got offered $1.4 million, brother, to defend my belt. $1.4 million. Like, why did they offer Kid Chocolate $1.4 million on a network that Kid doesn't usually fight on? Like, no matter where the fight was going, you got to figure out with the people, with their relationships, where the fight lands at. You know what I'm saying? But I want to ask you, why he hasn't made $1.4 million if they was willing to give it to me?
I mean, I don't really understand the basis of the question. What are you saying? That
I'm saying why he hasn't
he's
got.
not
if
worth
they was
the money?
No, I'm not saying if he's worse or not. I'm just asking why has he hasn't made $1.4 million yet?
Well, I mean, for starters, the purses that come out are 90% never accurate anyway. There's always money off the books that we don't, as media or fans, don't get to know exactly what that fighter would have made.
When you're making $1 million, when you're making $1 million or over $1 million, it is out there in the public for people to read it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's out there for people to read that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to take away against my man or nothing. I'm just asking certain questions just to make sure that we know, like how much is a fight between me and Gennady Golovkin would be worth. If he hasn't got paid $1 million yet, or if he did, and it hasn't been publicized that, because when I got offered that shit became big news. It was big news. It was ringing all over the internet. And for me to say no to that, people being able to say, criticize me about turning down $1.4 million, that they ask them why. Because people want to know, why would I turn my highest payday to date? You know, when people don't even know how much I made, clearly maybe I made close to $1 million already. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying $1.4 million I said no to, and people reacted in a very negative way for me doing that. Right? I'm just asking, how much would a fight with Gennady Golovkin and me be worth?
How much would it be worth? I mean, at this point, I don't think that it's worth as much as it was worth, I guess, 3 months ago when you still were the champion and you had some forward momentum. You know, you were coming off some solid or decent wins, and you were consistently on television. But now you've been in a bit of a hiatus, and he's slowly taken over the division. Even if it's only in the eyes of the fans, just because of the ratings. He does better ratings than anyone in that division. He's selling out more tickets than anyone in that division.
I mean, selling out the Garden is a real sellout. Like, Miguel Cotto does a headliner at Garden and he sells it out. He hasn't done that yet. No, he has not sold out the Garden to the capacity of Miguel Cotto, but he filled up the lower and secondary bowl, which was over 8,000, and in StubHub he did over, I believe, 10,000 people, and they had to open up seats. I mean, there's no denying that he's a ticket seller, because there's not many fighters that can go from coast to coast. You know, you see, when you talk about
For instance, Terrence Crawford, he's selling 10,000 in his hometown. Andre
in his
Ward
hometown,
is selling,
that's good.
Yeah, but that's only in your hometown. When you're talking about a guy that has no hometown, and he could sell in New York and he could sell in L.A., yeah, that's a big deal.
Well, I think I have potential to do that.
Well, obviously, I believe that you would have done very well had you took the fight because of all the added publicity that you would have gotten with Rock Nation and the Barclays Center and Jay-Z. I mean, you know, I was excited to see what good old Jay-Z was going to bring to the boxing world. But, you know, you had your reasons, and 2015 is not too far. We're going to wait to see what those reasons are. But, again, going back to my question was more about frustration. Are you frustrated that there was a time when he was a nobody and it made no sense to fight him, and now he is the kingpin of the division, even though Miguel Cotto is the lineal champion by default?
Yeah. I don't get frustrated. I'm not the kind of guy. It's crazy that you even say that, because right before I called you, I had a book in my hand. I'm going to read the book to you. I can find this joint. And I'm going to tell you exactly why I'm not angry about anything. Because I just believe in my heart that's not the kind of heart you should have. You shouldn't have an angry heart. So I'm not angry towards anybody. You know, Gennady Golovkin is doing his thing, and Miguel's doing his thing, and I'm competing in the same division. It means that I'm always going to have something to work towards, you know. And, you know, then not having a hateful heart, man, you know what I mean? Honestly, you can get far in life, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's easy to lose your temper and be angered by something, but it's even harder to keep your temper and do the right thing. So, you know what I mean? The book is basically called Anger, how to basically bottle up your anger and not be such an angry person. So, you know, for me, I'm working on that part of me all the time, even in fights. You know what I mean? You react with anger in a ring, you know, only bad things can happen. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I don't have time to even, resent or hate or be angered about anything that I can't really control besides what I do and what kind of I'm trying to put out there. You know, I look at my son, bro, and, you know, that's not what kind of person I'm going to teach him to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, I totally understand. But, Pete, look, I don't want to take too much of your time. I told Tiff it'd be 5 or 8 minutes. I do appreciate it. And, you know, we're looking forward to 2015, see what the Chocolate Man is going to bring us.
Definitely, man. Well, I want to give you, first and foremost, some thanks for giving me a call and just speaking the real and, you know, chopping it up with me, you know, just learning how I'm doing. So I appreciate that in all honesty, and I just hope that, you know, through what you're doing, actually grows and get bigger, and, you know, it's endless opportunities for you. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I am. I'm thankful for all the fans who just basically, you know, they look for me. They want to see me do good, and, you know, I'm thankful for that.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and, you know, I'm one of those guys that's always looking to see, you know, making sure that you're going to do the best for you and the best for boxing. So we'll be looking forward to that. And, again, you know, we'll speak soon.
All right. Can I tell you something?
Yeah, sure.
All right. If people thinking is controlled by the sinful itself, there is death. But if they're ranking and controlled by the spirit, there is life and peace. When people's thinking is controlled by the sinful self, they are against God because they refuse to obey God's law and really are not even able to obey God's law. Those people who are ruled by their sinful selves cannot please God.
All right. What was that, out of the book that you're reading?
Yeah, I'm reading a few books. It says The Worldly Mind, and it's basically God's promises for every day. And that was that little thing I read comes out of Romans chapter 8, verse 6 through 8.
Well, all right, some food for thought, man. I'll listen to it a little more in detail on the playback. and look it up. But Pete, man, thank you again for your time. It's always a pleasure.
All right, God bless you.
Likewise.
The Boxing Voice.